Okay, welcome back, and now we have another example of an indeterminate form. So notice that as x approaches 0 from the right, what happens here? This term goes to infinity, and tangent x as you go to 0 from the right also goes to 0, which means this is going to infinity. So I have the indeterminate form infinity minus infinity. Okay, so now what do I have to do? I have to manipulate this somehow to get it into one of these forms. So now the one thing that stands out to me is to get a common denominator, make it into a fraction. Once I have it into a fraction, then I can see if I get one of these two forms. Okay? Now, so let's do that. So I'm going to write the limit as x approaches 0 from the right. And so now I'm going to write this as a common denominator. So this is going to be tangent x minus x squared over x squared tangent x. And so now what happens here? This goes to 0. This goes to 0. So this is 0. Tangent is 0. This goes to 0, so this goes to 0. So now I have the indeterminate form 0 over 0. So now I can use L'Hopital's rule. So now, by L'Hopital's rule, I can take the limit of the derivative, the quotient of the derivatives, right? So the derivative at the top, well, the derivative of tangent x is secant squared x. And then minus 2x. And then, of course, here I'm going to use the product rule. So this is going to be 2x tangent x plus x squared secant squared x. Okay, now, well, let's just see what happens. So secant, I got a secant squared x okay, so this is going to go to 0, this is 0, this is 0, this is 1 over cosine, right? So 1 over cosine, cosine goes to 1, so that's going to be 1, so this is going to 1. So 1 times 0 is 0. So this is going to 0. Okay. This is 1 over cosine, so this is 1, and this is going to 0. So this is going to 1 over 0, which I believe should be infinity. And that's correct. So realize that looking at secant is just 1 over cosine. So as this is going to 0, well, cosine is going to 1, so this is just 1. This is going to 0, so it's just 1 over 0. So this whole thing, the numerator, is going to 1. This is going to 0, this is going to 0, so this is 0. And this is going to 0, and this is, again, this is going to 1, so this whole thing is going to 0. So the bottom is just going to 0 as the top is going to 1, which tells us that this is going to infinity. And that's it. Have a great day.